Permit me to use jargon because it is science, and science has jargon. There is an increase in certain kind of diseases, and we are not making it up. It's in the literature that we are sharing with you from the research. One of it is cancers. Cancers. In one of the researches that GM maize, Pressman, are you listening? GM maize was fed animals, rats, lab rats. Within a period of 2 years, from 18 months to 24 months, all the rats that were fed the maize developed tumors. They developed cancerous tumors, testicular tumors, and gastrointestinal tumors. And before today, an ailment like diabetes was known or taken to be a condition for the elderly, people who were advancing in age. Today, it has been proven from research that we are sharing with you that these agents are promoting diabetes even in young children. Juvenile diabetes, teenagers, 10-year-olds, 12-year-olds are going down with diabetes. And the reason is because these things are affecting the endocrine system, the hormonal system of the body. And that's the reason you are having an increase in those ailments. The third one is hypertension. Has it not baffled you that today young people who are not even fat are going down with hypertension from genetically modified soybeans? In the United States today, 98% of soya is genetically modified. Now, the third one is what I call early memory decay. I'm talking about the health challenges of genetically modified organisms. You find young people in their 40s beginning to lose their memory. They cannot keep attention to get information in a sustained way, and you say something to them today, 3 days later, they have forgotten it. That used to be a disease of people in their 90s. I can tell you the rate at which young people are losing memory today and losing intelligence is alarming.
The discussion of GMO and concerns, it's not just about biology. It's also about our food sovereignty. It's also our rights to exist, rights to safety, rights to life, rights to say, as a Nigerian, and I have a right to choose what I want to eat. As a Nigerian farmer, I have a right and access to traditional seeds, indigenous species. As a freeborn Nigerian, as a freeborn African, can I look back and say, oh, the type of variety and foods we still have them today. And let's say something exists that looks like what our ancestors used to call food. It's a question of, is it your own? Are you in control of it? I have 3 boys and a baby girl. And my greatest desire is for them to grow in Nigeria and nowhere else except where they are accepted and where they feel this is home. And that only place can be Nigeria. And a lot of this work, we do them for free, basically. So if you do a Google search on myself, you'll be asking, where does this person belong? Because today, I'm 100% Nigeria. And some of the presentations we do, there are places you get to, they'll say, why did you speak like that? But the truth is, if nobody defends Nigeria, who will? So some of us would put everything down to protect our nation, to defend what we want our children to inherit. And that's why we take these discussions personal. And I really pray that for those of you media here, don't just see this as a job. This is about the next meal you eat in the afternoon. It's not just going to be about what the editor said. It's going to be about your own personal conviction. Some people will tell you are not an expert. You shouldn't talk about food safety. But look, as long as it's going to enter your body, you have a right to talk about it. Yeah? And because food is medicine. You have a right to decide what drug will go into your body. You have a right to choose which hospital you want to go to. You have a right to ask, where's the approval on this drug, and is it the right person that approved it? Is it the right doctor that administered it? Because food, it's medicine. Food is also culture. Food is also identity. So anything that threatens your food, anything that threatens the existence of our African food, your ewedu, your egusi, your bono, your oziza, your okazi, your okro, anything that threatens this threatens your identity. It threatens your culture. It threatens your sovereignty. And any person that controls that basically controls you. Yeah. So let's quickly jump into the presentation. Prof did well to bring in the pesticide. You cannot separate pesticide, chemical pesticides, and GMO. These are science that are deliberately designed to move together. They are designed that way. My name is donaldtrump. I'm a program coordinator for the Alliance for Action on Pesticides in Nigeria, senior researcher, economist, and a policy analyst. So basically, I don't just do policy analysis. I have to sit down and follow it. Where is it coming from? What are we doing? What's happening in other countries? You know, what has happened here? And I would say something, that humans are very, very deliberate. Nothing happens by accident. Colonialism was not an accident. Chemicals coming to Nigeria, and over 70% of our farmers using it. It's no coincidence. It's a deliberate attempt. For the fact that chemicals came before the GMOs, it's not an accident. A lot of countries have used chemical pesticide. A lot of them are already using GMO before it landed at our doorstep. So what came first in Nigeria? The chemicals, the one Prof talked about. We have over 70 million Nigerians living with chronic kidney disease. A lot of these chemicals are major attributors. Now, we've been using these chemicals, we've been importing since 2015. GMO started, this GMO hunger. We started it formally. When I mean formally, the one we can see, the one they come on news and talk about, national biosafety, since 2015. But it has been smuggled into this country through different channels, from borders to development programs. They've been coming, they've been given to our farmers. They've called it development aid. They've come in, we've called it assorted luxurious biscuits, you know, ketchup and the rest of them. They're in our supermarkets. NAFDAC in 2018 came up and said they have not approved any GMO. If you have it on your shop, remove it. They said that in 2018. That was 2 years when NAFDAC was formed. Now, pesticides, we've been using pesticide for God knows when. If you go to WFO and you look at the trends of pesticide imports into Nigeria, look at pesticides, look at herbicides, look at insecticide, look at the trend. The trends are all pointing upwards. The imports, volume of imports. Nigeria is one of the largest importer of pesticide use. The last data from 2020, we're using about 147,000 metric tons of pesticides in Nigeria. We've been doing this since God knows when. But have hunger reduced? Not just in Nigeria, all over the world. Have these chemicals reduced hunger? The answer is no. Nowhere in the world. Nobody in the world can tell you we've used chemical pesticide, we've used GMO, and we've been able to cut down hunger. Nowhere. Not in India, not in Mexico, not in USA, nowhere. So I tell you, it is a deliberate movement. We will say it's conspiracy, but I tell you, it is deliberate. Bring in the chemicals, they take the chemicals, it destroys the weeds. Traditional and indigenous species, they disappear. Today, how many of the traditional indigenous species do we have? GMOs are not targeted at any food or any crop. It's about business, it's about money. So they target your staple food. They've tried it on GM cassava, ask IITA. It's there, it failed. They've tried it on tomatoes. Now they are on maize. They've done it to beans. They've done it to rice. They are not coming for food people would not eat. They are coming for foods that our population are going for. It's business for them. This is not about saving Nigeria. There's no messiah. No corporation is a messiah. Bill Gates is not a messiah. USAID, all of the development partners, they are not our messiah. Africa needs to decide and protect itself. So we must say this loud and clear. We must design our own solution. And it must come from us. And we must be weary of, okay, I'll have to caution myself a little bit. But we must be concerned for our brothers who are not following the trend, the global trend. We must be worried about our brothers in the food industry, the regulatory industries, that don't seem to be following these issues. And their work conditions need to be improved so that they can follow these issues, because I would rather blame it on their work conditions. Maybe they are not paid enough, they are not given enough budget allocation, so they don't follow these issues to know what is happening, what is the implication. So let's quickly run. This picture is the picture. These are reports from you guys, the news media, on people that have the casualty, on people that have suffered death as a result of the chemical pesticides we've been using. One of the biggest was in 2020, where over 270 Nigerians died in a community, one community. They lost 270 people, Benue State or Yoruba, due to the poisoning endosulfan. This is one of the pesticides also. It can be glyphosate and the rest of them. These are statistics and news headlines of food rejection in Nigeria. One of them, over 76% of Nigerians agricultural community are rejected by EU. This is NAFDAC. Shippers Council say 82% of Nigeria's export agro-allied products are rejected by the EU. Yeah, so these are reports that we see every day, and the numbers are there.
Firstly, somebody said if the GMO food is safe. He's still asking if the GMO food is safe in our country. I would help you, please. The media, are you here? Please stay where we are. Please position yourselves, because I would like to share some messages with you. We are going to be occupying a lot of states to plant our natural seed, the natural seed that God gave to us, not the one that they took to the lab to go and tamper with. If I personally see any store selling a GM, I am surprised to see. This is my first time of seeing this in my life. If I go to any store and see this, I will personally take it and I will mark it to the ground. Let them arrest me and take me to jail. I am ready to go to jail for this. We are not joking here. You are too relaxed. This is a matter of security. It's our body. People are dying because of this. There is no time to speak plenty English. Let the conversation start now. The conversation needs to start now. Look at what is given to you to eat, and it will be killing you gradually. My brother, your questions have been answered. Go to your platform and start discussing about the GMO food that has been brought to Nigeria to kill us. I will go to Aso Rock. I will go and meet my president. I will tell him the risk and the danger of this. I will go to the House of Assembly after now. I will go and meet who I am going to meet there and tell them the risk of this. Thank you so much. Thank you. The media, don't cut this part. See, I hope you are recording. I need my video, please, in case the media takes it out. Thank you very much.
It's obvious from because we look at the national policy. I'm going to speak in from a legal angle, and whatever I say, I have backup for it. We're not trying to say we're going to give you facts. It's very clear that the debate whether or not GMOs are an appropriate development or an intervention appears to be over. The general tone of the National Biosafety Act is clearly set for GMOs and products of GMOs imported for direct use as food, feed, and industrial processing. The starting point should have been, do Nigerians want GMO? And I can assure you it would have been a resounding no. Because anytime we go for any debate, the people saying no are more than the handful saying yes to that. So, who benefits from GMO? To answer that question will be, what benefits have GMO crops brought to the world? And for whom? We'll come to that later. Our professors will answer, I will tell you more about that. I want to quickly go to the legal aspect of this presentation. It should, however, be noted that usually it is genes of commercial interest that are transferred. They will not come to say they want to do GMOs to know how to end floods or grass. It's usually genes of commercial interest. In Nigeria, it is cassava, it is potato, it is maize. In Ghana, it is matoke, banana. In Mexico, it is maize. If you go to Mexico, I've been to Mexico, you will see blue, yellow, red, diverse. It's the country of corn, it's the own country of corn. I read from an article that 5,000 of their corn, variety of corns, have been eroded because of all this modification. But that is the same corn these people, these businessmen, want to modify, and the government said, no, you cannot come and contaminate our products. This belongs to us. So it's usually genes of commercial interest. So let us get it straight that these are businessmen. So they're not coming here they want returns from their investments. It should also be noted that once these man-made organisms are released into the environment and the food chain, they cannot recall them. Once you send them out, it's not like you say, come back. A typical example is the Starlink scandal that happened in the US in 2000. This was a variety of maize that was engineered for animal consumption. It was not engineered for food consumption because of the CI9B that was inside the gene that was made. But somehow, it found itself in the food chain. That means you cannot control these things. Once you've released these life forms into the environment, it's not like a dog, you say, sit. It has taken a life of its own. The gravity of the contamination was breathtaking. They had to do massive recalls. And even though it started in the US, the contamination found its way to Japan, to countries in Latin America. It was in 2000, 2001, and 2002. But they managed to do recalls. And even though it was planted on a variety of corn that was yellow, it found itself on a yellow, white maize variety. So the issues of contamination are serious issues, are one of the issues we consider when you're trying to bring GMOs to any country. Can you contain them? This is US we're talking about. If they cannot, can we contain it in Nigeria? So let's think about it. The answer is blowing in the air. So how did this thing start? The quest for Nigeria. Let's go there. Nigeria is the most populous country with an estimated population of 200 million people. It accounts for over 47% of the West African population. With this numerical strength, the biotech giants, no doubt, imagine that our nation has a good and ready market for their GMO products. But let's face it, if Nigeria is buying to your product, you're in Malta, we know it. It's also instructive to note that Danfoot, I'm giving names, please check it. The Danfoot Center made it public knowledge that we need to start making plans for how these product developments are going to be carried out in 4 countries of interest and how these products are going to meet the regulatory requirements of these countries. They were simply looking for countries that have big markets for their products. Nigeria, of course, was one of the world's largest production of cassava tubers, became a spot. They wanted it. I mean, if you have a success story in Nigeria, you've made it. Other countries will line up behind you. It is clear that there was a systematic attempt at breaking down Africa's regulatory systems to embrace GMO crops. Their strategy received a boost when on the 9th of January, I'm giving dates, 2009, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation awarded this same Danfoot Center a whopping sum of $5.4 million. According to the report, this funding will help the center secure the approval of African governments to allow field testing of genetically modified banana, rice, sorghum, cassava plants that have been fortified with vitamins, minerals, and proteins. These crops are the mainstay in the diets of millions in developing countries around the globe. So they're not playing, they know what they were looking for. Now, back to Nigeria. Let's have this. How did we get here? The Nigerian Biosafety Management Agency, NAMA, so if you heard NAMA, I'm talking about the Nigerian Biosafety Agency, came into force in 2015, and it's mandated to set up, the act came up in 2015, and of course, after the act, the agency came into force. This agency, however, has acted, there's supposed to be a regulator, an unbiased umpire, but NAFDA, since they came into force, NAMA, first NAMA is Nigerian Biosafety Management Agency, they've acted more like a promoter of GMOs than as a regulator, approving virtually every application brought to it without consideration of the science-based objectives set by groups and concerned Nigerians like all the groups that they are seeing here. NAMA Act needs to be repealed as it is flawed with respect to the absence of very clear provisions like provisions for strict liability and redress, which mandates that whenever there is doubt, you hold the brakes. It lacks very critical provisions like public participation, which gives the agency wild discretionary powers to do whatever they want to do. Now, the NAMA Act also gives very wild discretionary powers to the agency and gives little room for oversight. There is conflict of interest inherent in NAMA Act also raises serious questions. The composition of the board is very arbitrary. Why should there be an agency like NABDA, National Biosafety Agency Development, which it's their conduct, their trade that NAMA is supposed to regulate? And if you look, I don't know, I asked them to put that thing on the board. If anytime you see NABDA, you will see NAMA. How many of you, if you are playing for a particular match, you would want to see the referee hobnobbing with the other team? Of course, you would say he's biased. NAMA ostensibly, they're not even hiding it. Anytime you see they're having meetings, NAMA is there. I mean, I asked them to put up that flyer. They go for their meetings. They are co-organizing meetings together. How do you regulate somebody that is in your board? I mean, it's not possible. So this is clearly conflict of interest. You cannot, it's just like asking a smuggler to be part of the immigration office. What do you think they're going to do? In 2016, 2 of the permits issued by NAMA was to Monsanto Agriculture Nigeria Limited. And then they were in partnership with NABDA. NABDA is also in their board. So I want us to get this right. NABDA, a board member, joined with a questionable company like Monsanto to apply for permits, and of course, it will be granted. So as we're saying, on May 2016, NAMA issued 2 permits, one for the commercial release and placing on the market of GM cotton, and the other for the confined free trial of maize, which also would have, this will be used in that maize. I mean, the professor has already explained, when they bring those maize, it's like a combo. You use it will not affect their maize, it will kill every other plant. If this is very dangerous, by just, and they say it's acid, and they are putting it in your food, what do you think will do to you? I heard somebody say people are not dropping it. The fact you're not dropping it does not mean that it's not affecting you gradually. You will surely die, but not now, but it's gradually. So if this is pesticides, GMOs is pesticides on our food. This is part of the combo that Monsanto, this is somebody that produces for our maize. So, and we've raised serious objections to NAMA, telling them this is wrong, and they will never accede to our objections because already their mind is set on what they want to do.
The first thing I want to talk about is, let us begin to, I'm talking to the media houses now. I read a lot of reports. My dad was a journalist. I learned how to read from reading newspapers. And I want to mention something. When you say a reporter, I say, federal government holds World Press Conference to persuade Nigerians that GMO is safe. Who exactly is the federal government? You say federal government, that was the press conference that I held last week. That was the article from a certain platform. It said federal government holds World Press Conference to say GMO is safe. Meanwhile, NAFDAC has come to say GMO is not safe. So another media house can now say federal government claims GMO food is not safe. Am I correct? Yeah. Yes. Nobody has no government agency has a monopoly of federal government. When you say federal government, let us now start putting their names. Who exactly? Because anybody sees it, because you're giving coloration to the government. To the people out there, the citizens of the country, they think it's the president. They think it's his inner cabinet. Not knowing it is one agent from another organization who is in the government. And I'm going to be narrowing down on a particular publication by the director of OFAB in Nigeria, Dr. Rose Gidado, who doubles as a director in the National Biotechnology Research Development Agency, NABRA. So she is in both organizations. So one of those organizations is Nigeria. The other one called OFAB Nigeria is not Nigeria. Please, let's be very clear. Because we call it OFAB Nigeria doesn't mean it is from Nigeria. So if OFAB organizes a press conference, then why are we reporting it as federal government organized the press conference? That means back end, somebody is OFAB. Front end, the person is federal government.
Huh? I'm a professor of bioinorganic chemistry and experimental medicine. I am the executive director of the Center for Food Safety and Agricultural Research. We have put together this event today as a symposium for the media, which also doubles as a press conference. And the theme of our event today is addressing global and local concerns on genetically modified foods. Genetically modified foods are a variant of a generic class of substances that are generally referred to as genetically modified organisms. Genetically modified foods fall in the category of GMOs that are developed and promoted within the field of agriculture and food supply chain. GMOs are also in healthcare. They are in other aspects of technology. But our focus today about GMOs in this event is agricultural biotechnology-induced genetically modified organisms. Today, with technological advancements and innovations in agriculture being pivoted to address alleged, or what I term orchestrated, food security or food insecurity, as the case is, across many nations in Africa, and of course Nigeria inclusive. The discourse surrounding genetically modified organisms remains a critical area of focus. As those of you who are in the media will attest, it's trending not just in Nigeria and in other African countries. It's actually trending globally, despite the fact that GMOs have been on the scene in the United States of America, in North America, Central America, and to some extent in some countries in Southern America like Argentina, Brazil, Paraguay, Chile. Today, they have come and taken a center stage because they are riding on a narrative that Africa is a hungry continent. The third world, quote and unquote, is a hungry continent. And therefore, GMOs are being projected to be the panacea, the silver bullet that will take away all the hunger concerns of Africa. That's the pivot. And that's why GMOs today are a central focus in the media and in public discourse. Now, we brought this event together to invite you into the conversation that should not just sustain the discussion on GMOs, but should push it to its logical, scientific, ethical, and safety endpoints. It's a conversation that we cannot afford to allow it to just fade off like many others have happened, because the consequences from our standpoint as experts is unimaginable. Often, when you hear about these consequences, promoters and purveyors of these organisms are quick to jump and deceive, spew out a lot of deception, beginning with characterizing anyone that holds a contrary opinion as a conspiracy theorist. We are not conspiracy theorists, despite the fact that conspiracy theories themselves are not an anomaly. because most of the technologies of today emanated from what was classified yesterday as conspiracy theories. But to the many who are simple-minded, the moment I am called a conspiracy theorist, the media will buy that narrative and project it to the public as though conspiracy theorists are liars. They are not liars, but this we are talking about today is not a conspiracy theory. Because in the conversation about GMOs, Nigerians have been taken on a deception ride, and they say there is no evidence that these things are unsafe. So I'm a scientist. I was just sharing with my colleague there, a present PhD that I'm about to graduate. We finished the research. I'm the supervisor to that PhD student. And we went into the market. I teach and research from Benue State, the food basket of Nigeria. And we went to the market to survey the chemicals that have inundated our agricultural space. Farmers are using chemicals like water nowadays. And I'm going to show you evidence that the ubiquitous use of those chemicals is accentuated as a result of the introduction of genetically modified organisms. The most used broad-spectrum herbicide all over the world is known as glyphosate. It is one of the key ingredients in Roundup. Can I have this bottle, please? It's one of the key ingredients in Roundup. This is a bottle of Roundup, and it's very popular with farmers and those in agricultural practice. I'm a chemist, and when I hear somebody who knows nothing about chemicals come up to the Nigerian media space because of the privilege of office to take Nigerians to a very dangerous precipice of deception that these things are safe, it baffles me, because all through my scholarship, this is what I know. Nobody knows about chemicals more than me. I'm a professor of chemistry. And these things are not your friend. This is not water. So what we found out in the market, I'm talking about research that we are going to publish very soon. What we found out in the market is that most of the formulations that you see in Roundup are not just glyphosate. And why glyphosate? The history of glyphosate will tell you why glyphosate. The history of GMOs will tell you why glyphosate. Glyphosate plays a very central role in the promotion and proliferation of genetically modified organisms. It means that this chemical is incorporated in a way using modern biotechnology to fortify the crop in a manner that when the farmer sprays this on the crop field that the crop is planted in, all other weeds will die except that particular crop, like corn, like your teller maize, like your RR soya. So the implication further goes to the fact that when these plants or crops, these genetically modified crops, are resistant to this cannot kill them because they have been modified. And the need to modify them arose from the fact that sometime in 1974, farmers realized that this chemical was killing both the weed and the crops and affecting outcomes on the farm. Now, what we are doing, what I'm set to do here, I'm not going to tell you much again. I will just scroll so that you look at the information on the screen. These are evidence base of this chemical as an important player in the equation of genetically modified organisms and what this chemical is doing. They state to Nigerians that there are no scientific researches, there are no evidence that this thing is unsafe. The very first paper you see there is a publication about this Roundup and that it causes non-alcoholic liver disease. Roundup causes non-alcoholic liver disease. And if you go to the hospitals here, you will ask the physicians, the clinicians, they will tell you the same thing. They may not know that it's Roundup that is insinuating it, but they will tell you that certainly the incidence of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is rising. Traditionally, it was alcoholic liver disease was exacerbated by alcoholics, those who were, who were drunkards. But today, people who don't even drink alcohol are going down with liver disease, and that category of liver disease is known as non-alcoholic liver disease. That report is there for you to see. It was considered in the EU Parliament on the 10th of May in 2017.